Hi, this is Echo Chernik, and welcome to The Professional Artist. And if you hadn't guessed, I am a professional artist. First of all, I wanted to thank everyone who joined us last week on the Author's Quill on United Public Radio, where I was a special guest. And just so you know, I have excellent news for you. The Author's Quill has moved and it will be on in an hour. So I'm hoping that you will hang out with us and listen, and I will be giving you informative, exciting, and perhaps somewhat titillating discussion on what it's like to be a professional artist. For the next hour. This is episode 1, so I'm pretty excited. I have been a professional advertising illustrator for the last 30 years, and I've been waiting a long time to actually do a channel, so I have a lot of information to share with you, so this is kind of exciting. This channel is aimed towards discussing the business of illustration and being a freelance artist or selling your art in no matter whatever way, whatever manner you're looking to make a living or a partial living at improving yourself in the business sense of selling your art. I have been doing this a long time, and one of the things that I've noticed is that there are lots of good artists out there, a lot of really good artists out there, really, really good artists out there, but there's not a lot of good information provided to those artists about how to actually sell your art or how to actually make a business of it or what to do with it. I mean, you could be really, really good, but if you don't know how to sell it or how to navigate a lot of little nuanced things that we've had to learn along the way, like kind of how to make pins and buttons and promote yourself, and even like how to book going to shows or there's so many little nuanced things. It's really a journey. It's a big supporting yourself as an artist and taking this path is a journey, and so that's what I'll be talking about on this channel. However, it's not going to be a big, boring business discussion. It's going to be lots of fun stories that I've learned along my progression as an artist, because that's the best way to learn is through storytelling. And so I want to tell you, all about how my journey has gone. But just like anything, my journey is going to be different from other artists' journeys, and I know a lot of other artists, so I'm going to have some of my friends on come on to the station as well. And they're going to tell you about their artist journeys. So next week, we're going to have the famous and established artist Todd Lockwood, who's going to come on, and he is a fantastic dragon artist. I'm going to be over in Missoula at MissCon, which I've never been to before. It's supposedly it's a really fun convention, and it's very fantasy oriented, and there's a lot of really great artists, and I've never had a chance to go. So I get to tell you all about how cool MissCon is going to be. And I've heard so many good things about it, but Todd just agreed to come on and tell you guys all about his own journey, which is going to be different than my journey. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm just looking to see. Hi, everyone. So yes, I'm glad you guys can hear me. That's a good thing. So, but so yeah, so that's what this channel is going to be all about. So it's going to be teaching and sharing with artists and people that want to improve their careers. Maybe, if you wanted to sell your art, if you want to make a career out of art, or if you just want to, do it part-time or whatever, or if you just like hearing what's behind the curtain with what artists go through, because honestly, it's quite fascinating to hear what we do behind the scenes. It's, we just think, oh, we just make great art and then, that's it. No, there's a lot of fun stories behind it. You'd be amazed at some of the things that some of my other artist friends we sit around and talk about it is just kind of captivating the messes we get ourselves into. So I hopefully you will find this entertaining. But to those of you that want to actually make a living at this, I hope that you will find this to be a useful resource. About 7 or 8 years ago now, I became the coordinating judge for the Illustrators of the Future contest. And so I go down to Los Angeles and I teach a workshop down there. And I focus that workshop on business of it, because I found that is so greatly lacking in school. Even when I went to school, oh my gosh, when I went to school, we learned art. We learned all the aspects of art. We learned how to do art 6 ways to Sunday, and it was great. I mean, you learned all the art, but we had a 20-minute optional seminar on how to sell art and the business of art. I mean, it was optional, and they're like, here's 20 minutes, and good luck out there. But you didn't learn how to actually do anything to do with the business. They're just like, just pushed you out the door, and what do? You're just standing there on the street corner with your portfolio and had no idea what to do with it. And I've talked to artists nowadays, and some art schools have classes on business, but a lot of people that I've talked to are opting not to go to art school, or some art schools have classes, but not all of them are great. Some resources online, there are some, but they're not necessarily thorough. One good thing about this show is it's live, so you could actually ask me questions and my guests. And like I said, each of us have different paths, so that we all have different specialties. And in a little while, I'll tell you all about my history, so that you can figure out where my path went, so that you can ask me specific questions. And hopefully that will that you can start asking questions. Hey, I need to know more about how to promote myself, or how to I want to go do comic book shows. How do I get a booth? What do I how do you do this? And then that'll lead to some pretty cool stories. So but yeah, so I'm going to go in and letting you know a little bit about myself. So I have been doing advertising, Art Nouveau illustration for about 1,000,000 years, since literally before the internet, before the internet was, available to the public, which is terrifying, but that's true. I went to Pratt Institute for illustration and was traditionally trained. In so I could do oil paintings um, and traditional art, which I really value my traditional training as well. And I didn't actually start doing a lot of digital stuff until after I graduated from college. I knew that I wanted to be a commercial illustrator right out of school, so I focused on my senior year. I decided, I want to start working. I want to start working in the industry right out of school, and that's going to be difficult because it's hard to be, to delve right in. We didn't really have the internet, like I was saying then, so you had to actually get out there and mail samples to the art directors and everything. And it was hard to get right into the industry then. And so I spent my entire senior year focusing on black and white art, because we were playing a lot of role-playing games. And I knew that I could probably get work in the role-playing game industry because it paid terribly. And I could probably start there. And if I could do that and get my foot in the door there, I could make all my mistakes in that industry before I got into the mainstream market. And then I would have a couple years of experience as an actual illustrator, when I'd have published pieces under my belt. And that was my strategy. So I did that for I did that for a couple years, doing lots and lots and lots of interior black and white illustration for White Wolf and Wraith the Oblivion, for the World of Darkness, and that was that was a lot of fun. So a lot of gaming stuff. And then I found I loved Art Nouveau illustration, so I found I was doing more and more Art Nouveau and studying that style. And then I got hired for my first advertising piece, which was for Trek bicycles. I got called up by Trek because they wanted to do a poster for Lance Armstrong for Lance Armstrong's 5th or 6th consecutive Tour de France win. They didn't know whether he's going to win at the time, so I actually had to do a poster with 5 stars. No, with 4th or 5th. Sorry, 4th or 5th. I think and I had to do one with 4 stars on the top and one with 5 stars on the top. So if he lost, they'd publish one, and if he won, they'd publish the other one. And they wanted to do an Art Nouveau one. They called Bob Massey, but he didn't answer the phone. He was an Art Nouveau. He's an Art Nouveau illustrator as well, but he didn't answer. And all the other Art Nouveau illustrators at the time, or all the other Art Nouveau illustrators, are dead. I was the only other living one that was actually doing the Art Nouveau style, so they called me up. And so that was my first big commercial Art Nouveau break into the industry. And that was really exciting and terrifying, actually, absolutely terrifying. And so I worked. I got that, and it was. I'll tell you more about working on my first big job some other time. But that was absolutely, scary as can be. But I did that one. Did an amazing job. And once I got my big first job, I just kept getting more and more commercial work. And then I got a piece for NASCAR that ended up on the cover of Create magazine. And once I got that one, I was perpetually behind on pieces. Once I was on the cover of Create magazine, I just couldn't catch up. I just was behind constantly. I just had too more work than I could handle for about 6 or 8 years, and so that was kind of cool. So that was my kind of journey into becoming really, really well known in advertising genre. And then when my kids were about 4 and 6, I looked around and I decided that I didn't. When you're an illustrator, you don't really get any time off because you're supporting the family. I was supporting the family, and you can't take any vacation days. And this is what I'm talking about as being a part of the journey, because you have to treat it as you have to treat being a freelancer as different than a normal job. You can't. When you have a normal job, you get vacation days, and there's a structure to things. When you're a freelance artist, you have to sort of make your own rules, and you have to be a little bit creative, and that this counts. Sometimes you run into roadblocks where you're maybe not going the direction you want to go, and you have to kind of solve the problem and fix it and go in a different direction. And I'll talk about that a little bit later too. But sometimes you have to figure out where you want to go, and go in that direction, as figure out, well, where do I want to go, how do I want to change things, and adjust yourself. And so I decided when the kids were young that I didn't want to miss out on their childhood and not take vacations. I was afraid all of a sudden they'd be 18 and I wouldn't have traveled at all with them. So I looked at it, and I decided, let's do a comic book show, or like like we did a MegaCon in Florida. I made some prints of my art. I'd never done one before. I was like, well, I don't know. My friend does these shows, and they bring art to them. I had no idea. I'd never been to one of these shows before. So I printed out some prints of some of my pieces, and I didn't even know I was supposed to have a display, honestly, at the time. I had no idea. I didn't really have any friends that knew that could tell me anything about this. I made some prints and got a table in Artist Alley and showed up and threw them on the table. And I was like, oh, well, maybe, hopefully people will like my stuff. And I did amazingly well. Looking back, I probably should have had some sort of display or a plan, and that did really good. And so we bought an RV, and we started doing summers where we would travel with the kids, so that we would have summer vacations, and that was the entire plan, was to actually travel with them. And that's how we did vacations with the kids. We would do shows during the summer specifically so that we would have vacations with the 4 and the 6-year-old, and they would come with us, and we would do a show. And then we would load them up in the RV, and then we would travel, and then we would spend the week at wherever, Yellowstone or something. And I would have all my stuff with me to illustrate. So I would just be like, okay, kids, let's go, you go play with the bears or whatever. And I would be illustrating in the RV. And I was, you have certain freedoms when you're illustrating. You can work anywhere. So you kind of make your own rules. So there are good things and bad things about being a freelance illustrator. Bad things are you don't have a set paycheck. Good things are you don't have a set paycheck, but you can make your own rules. You can work anywhere. So it's got its definite ups and downs. So they definitely had an interesting childhood doing the shows. So doing the con circuit for their we planned to do that for 8 to 10 years, and we had our RV and we did that for a long time, and that was a lot of fun. So that became sort of our regular routine, and so I was doing the illustration, the commercial illustration. I tried to push off the big jobs so they weren't in the middle of the summer, but sometimes they were. And we were doing the shows, and then I ended up picking up fans and doing just fun pieces for them. And that's where I met the Writers of the Future people, and as well as a lot of just fans and other just fun jobs. And then I'd always wanted to do work for the role playing game Shadowrun, because I told you I started off my work in role playing games in college, and I did a lot of work for a White Wolf and for the World of Darkness. But we used to play Shadowrun, and I really wanted to do work for Shadowrun, but I wasn't able to get any work for them in college. And so fast forward to here I am, an established illustrator with a very Art Nouveau style. And I was like, geez, I'd still really want to work for Shadowrun. And so I encourage you in your career to just go for it if there's something you want. I mean, I tell my kids that what's the worst they're going to say? No. So I just randomly wrote to the new art director and said, hey, I know my work doesn't look, remotely like Shadowrun, but I promise you I can do work for Shadowrun. And I really expressed to him that I wanted to do that. And he just kind of freaked out and was like, oh my God, we can't afford you. And I was like, yeah, we'll work it out. Trust me. And so now I do a ton of work. I've done something like, I don't know, 14 covers, and a really great new project that's coming out at Gen Con, and a tarot deck, and I do that because I love it. So I love doing work for Shadowrun. So when you're an artist, you have to do work you love, because it drives your soul. I mean, you got to do stuff that just keeps you alive. So you can, so yeah, so now I do Art Nouveau advertising work. I do package design. Some of my clients include for package design Miller, Camel, Coors, NASCAR, Trek, Celestial Seasonings, Jose Cuervo, De Kuiper, the Post Office, military. I did a cool piece for the Chic of Dubai. That was kind of fun. Who else? I don't know, like everybody. It's been kind of a fun ride, and still working on new stuff. I'm doing a coloring book right now, which is kind of cool. It's like a fantasy coloring book with like horses and dragons and stuff, and all kinds of neat things. So I'm reading what Josh says. If the top right corner and the top left corner prints hanging in your office. Awesome. Yeah, the Black Magic one. That was a piece for I did the Black Magic absinthe piece. I did that originally for a cherry liqueur. And then they decided they weren't going to make the liqueur, and then I got hired to finish the piece for an absinthe. And so that was kind of cool. Um, I love doing package design work. I think package design is one of my favorite things to do. I don't think I'll ever get tired of doing package design. Um, I have a Kickstarter that's coming out tomorrow, maybe today, possibly tomorrow, maybe today. Hoping on today, possibly tomorrow. It's pretty exciting. It's I think I'm excited about this Kickstarter. I this is for Maya, which is a personal project. I've always liked erotic artwork. I don't know. I like drawing women, and I've just always liked, symbolism in erotic art. Just because I just think it can be beautiful without being raunchy and gross and stuff. And I and when COVID came around, I decided, if things are going to be, a little bit quieter for a little while, so I'm going to take this time and I'm going to work on my Patreon that I didn't plan to do for a couple of years, but I decided to, take the time to do that. And I wanted to, and I've always wanted to illustrate this book, Maya by Richard Adams, which is the author of Watership Down. That one of my teachers gave me in middle school, high school, and my Latin teacher gave it to me, and it's this just fantastic novel, and it's just well written and tasteful and just really awesome. And so I contacted the family and the literary agent, and I got the rights to publish it, and yeah, and so we finally, after 4 years of work, it's got 105 chapter headers and a whole bunch of interiors, and I had like full control over it, and I'm super excited about it, and I can't wait. It's finally going live on Kickstarter, and it's been a lot of work, but it's got a lot of black and white drawings because I just adore black and white. So um, how do I make it? Athena asks, how do I maintain my followers, or how did you early on? Quantity of output. Followers like social media followers, you mean? Or I haven't actually worried about social media followers too much. When it comes to like my commercial work, I've just worried about I've always focused just on my work. Um, I've always focused on getting, unlike some people, a lot of people focus on getting work through connections and through who they know, but I've always been a little shy that way, and always focused on getting work through just putting my work out there and getting my portfolio out there and getting work. Which is why I think it took me so long to actually launch a channel. And so I haven't really worked on maintaining followers too much. I just put my work out there, and yeah, I haven't really focused on that too much. Yeah, I haven't really worked on it too much. I don't really focus on maintaining my customer base that much. I know that's a terrible thing to say nowadays, because I, I believe that if you love what you do, people can see it, and they're drawn to it. Um, and and it's hard it is hard to it is hard to promote yourself. It is really hard, it's stressful nowadays on social media to always be told you have to promote yourself, the algorithm, and you have to Instagram, and you don't have enough likes, and you don't have enough likes, and how many followers do you have? And oh my God, that's so stressful. I mean, oh, I don't have enough likes. I don't have as many likes as so and so. Oh my God, I must be not as good of an artist as so and so because they have 4 million more likes than me. That is so stressful, and it's kind of a crock. So don't let the number of likes like stress you out. It doesn't mean you're not as good of an artist, okay? Don't buy into that, okay? Just take a breath, because it's so easy to look at all of that, all the numbers, and make you feel like you're not as worthy of an artist. Just do what you love, go to shows, put your things out there, you get your customer base. You don't actually need a 40 million followers online to have a strong customer base that loves you and supports you. My Kickstarters don't even have like a ton of people. I only have actually a pretty small, regular customer base that just, follows me and, supports me and stuff. And that's really, they're fantastic. I love you all, by the way, all of you, every one of you, even you and 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 you. So, so don't, I get stressed out when I look at Instagram sometimes, and I'm like, how come that person has 4 million people? And my husband's like, honey, listen to yourself. Don't look at the numbers because they don't even make sense. So don't do that to yourself. So it's very easy for artists to get very stressed out when you look at stuff online. It's overwhelming. So just try, just focus on your art and focus on the people that do, like, love your stuff. Focus on your, so I heard the saying once. It was like, sow your own half acre. Just like, get your own fan base, to show them your stuff. Share your things and just put your passion into that, and they'll share it. And that's the number one thing you can do to support artists. If you love art, even if you don't have any money and you love art, just, give them likes and share them. Even if you're like, I want to support an artist, but you don't have any money, just be like, fine, just, like every single one of their pictures and share it. Be like, hey, did you see this artist? Hey, did you see this artist? Hey, did you see this artist? Because that makes the artist feel special. And, that's just the best thing you can do to artists that you would adore, is just to share their art. So, what do I think makes a Patreon successful? Well, I think that if the artist is happy and they feel like they're getting enough out of their Patreon, and they're not, it's not causing them stress. That's the thing. Because I think that when you are running a Patreon, if you're an artist and you're running a Patreon and it becomes a point of stress that it's not fun, then it's not successful. Because if it's stressing you out, that's not successful. If you're enjoying doing it, you're creating art, your fans are having fun, and they're watching you, and you're interacting with them, and you have this, like, you're going back and forth, and you're getting to share things with them, and it's not a point of stress with your fans, then it's successful. If it becomes like, where you're like, I gotta make stuff for my Patreon, I gotta do this, and it's this job, and then it's not. I don't think it's fun. If you're gonna make a Patreon, and I say this to artists because I know of a couple artists that are worried about making a Patreon. Wait until you're ready. Wait until you don't rush it. Don't rush it. I waited a couple of years to make one because I wanted to jump in and make one early, but I was like, no, don't make one yet. Ready? You're not ready. You're not ready, because it's work. It's a lot of work. You just wait until you feel like the time is right to make a Patreon, because you have to find something that excites you. I waited until I wanted to do the erotic art until I waited until I got to until COVID came around, and all of a sudden I had the time to do my erotic art pieces, and I was like, yeah, the time's right. I'm gonna do the Patreon now. And I was really just excited to just delve in every month. And then another reason I chose to do my Patreon, my erotic art under the Patreon, is because it keeps it separate from my commercial work. It was a business decision because um erotic sexy art isn't everyone's cup of tea. I mean, I specifically tailored it to be behind the paywall, a little separate from everything, because I do a lot of mainstream art. I do, you know I have beautiful paintings of cats and stuff that I do in my gallery up here, that appeal more to the mainstream. But the erotic art makes some people uncomfortable, and that's fine. I mean, don't go to the Patreon if it makes you uncomfortable. It's just not everyone's thing, and that's great. But that's what that explores. So I don't put it out right there for everyone usually, because it's just, I like to keep it a little separate, because also in a marketing standpoint, I'm marketing to different people. I can't have it right out where I'm going to be selling to the same, like Celestial Seasonings, and the same companies that I sell, I'm doing the work for the publishing companies. So I have to keep that a little separate. So that hopefully that answered that question. That was for me. That was kind of sideways, but so how did the Armstrong folks find me? I have absolutely no idea. For you mean for like for Trek bicycles? How did the Trek bicycles find me? I think they found me through an advertisement I placed in Workbook. Workbook. Back then, I advertised in like the Directory of Illustration and Workbook, and those are like actual physical directories. They're like physical books that you advertise in. They're really expensive they're like about $3,000 a page to advertise in. But and they send them out, and they still you still use them. They're still being sent out to art directors and creative directors. They're if you go to Workbook or Directory of Illustration, they also have online resources as well, and they're great because creative directors flip through them when they're looking for actual illustrators to that they want to hire. They're expensive, but to advertise in, but they do separate the pros from the not as pros because they show a certain level of commitment. I mean, if you're willing to put that much money into it, then obviously you're dedicated to being an illustrator. And I had spent money to place an ad in there and got nothing from it. And then like 2 years later, I had again put money into an ad there, and then I think that's where I got that from. They were looking for somebody who was Art Nouveau, and I had some Art Nouveau pieces in there, and I was literally like the only Art Nouveau artist that wasn't, like I said, dead, and so they contacted me. Um, I didn't know. I didn't know vector art at the time. They called me up and I worked in Photoshop, but I didn't know Adobe Illustrator at the time. And they called me up and we had this huge discussion, and I was really excited. And I bid on the job, and they said it was fine, and it's just more money than I'd ever bid on a job before, and I was so excited. And we got all the way to the end of the discussion, and they're like, "Oh, and this is going to be vector, right?" I'm like, um um, well, no. And they're like, well, it has to be vector. And I'm like, well, I was gonna do it raster. And they're like, no, it has to be vector. And I'm like, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Could be a vector. So I had to learn Adobe Illustrator in like a week. I mean, and if any of you know Adobe Illustrator, the learning curve is like, hitting a brick wall and going straight up it. And so I mastered that, like just jumped on that pony like crazy. And that was a tough learn, but I mastered that. Woo. I was like, all right, sticking a carrot, let's go. And but yeah, no, I got that down. That's how I learned Adobe Illustrator. Really hard knocks, sort of just jumped on that. So but I wanted that job so bad. So how early in my career did I get an agent? Oh, when did I get an agent? Not until I didn't need an agent. That's usually how it goes. I got approached by an agent. It was after I got my first, after I got that cover on Create Magazine. I got called up by Tom Mendola. Like I said, I was a couple of years behind, and they called me up and they were like, he's like, "Hi, I'm Tom Mendola, and I from Mendola Associates, and we keep losing jobs to you because we keep bidding on. We're an agent in New York, and we keep we these ad agencies call us up and ask us to to have they ask us to bid on these jobs, and then they call you up to bid on jobs as well, and for these illustration jobs, and we keep losing jobs to you. So we want to have you join our stable of illustrators." And so that's how I ended up on my with an agent. And that was oh gosh, I don't when did I join with them? Oh, 15 years ago or so, 15, 20 years ago. And they're awesome. They're awesome. I like having an agent. So and yeah, and if anybody's ever interested, maybe I can probably get one of the agents on the show sometime to talk all about, having an agent sometime in the future. So, but yeah, it is, there are definitely pros and cons to having an agent. But it is beneficial in that they actually, they help bring you better work. And they do all the negotiating for you, which is just wonderful. Um, do all the paperwork for you. So for other illustrators, it's nice. They can they bring all the they make it a lot easier. They do take a cut of it, but you don't need an agent, but it is nice. So now I have a gallery that's up here in Fairhaven, Washington, which is nice. So I've been able to do a little bit more fine art. I don't think I could ever be just pure fine artist. I like package design too much. I like the allure of solving problems. I like, the limitations of package design and of, poster design and doing different styles. And I don't know, I guess I'm a commercial artist at heart. So some artists just want to do package design. So, I mean, sorry, do fine art, but I don't know. I love commercial art. It's just fantastic. So, does anybody have any questions in the chat? Following up the chat here. So this will be on YouTube too. So this is episode 1. So I guess I'm supposed to say that you have to click the subscription bell and do all the like it and follow and all that stuff. So that yeah, this is kind of exciting. So hopefully this will be a good resource for illustrators. That's the plan. I'm going to have some really good people on here. Dan Dos Santos is going to come on with me. And share some stories and yeah, we have a really good time. Hi, how you doing? I know, well designed. It's nothing like a well designed package, a really good package. Everything in a good package. What would I suggest for getting started? LLC? No, just sole prop. Yeah, when you're first getting started, just a sole proprietor is usually where you start. I did not do LLC until you reach a certain threshold where you're basically make a certain amount of money that you have to pop over to being an LLC. So that's an accountant question. All of a sudden we hit a threshold where we made too much, and they're like, "Whoop, you got to pop over now because you made too much money." Um, but a sole proprietor, you're still it's tied into you. Basically, the business is still tied into you when you're a sole proprietor. But that's just where you need to that's where you are when you start for the first quite a bit of the beginning. My childling cat is just starting off, and she's a sole proprietor right now. I was a sole proprietor for a long time. So that's all you need to register as. And usually when you're working out of your home, you usually need to do you have to look up for where you live, but you have to do a business license um, for wherever you live. Just look up for your city or your state. Usually you have to get a business license for whatever your town is. Usually they'll say that you can't like put like a sign in your window or something, but you have to have a business license. But to work out of your house, but you can work out of your house, and then you can write off a certain percentage of your house. Sometimes you have to have a door, and all that stuff. So you can like write off a bedroom or something, but they don't actually check. So you could just like, write off the bedroom. But for tax purposes and everything. But so just set it up as a sole proprietorship, and then just proportion a part of your house as your studio, and then you can write off a certain part of your utilities as well, and keep track of anything that you buy for the business in terms of references materials. Like if you buy any books on art, like for instance, anything you're going to use in your photo shoots, if you're going to take pictures for reference that you're going to use in any of your drawings. I mean, if say you're going to buy a piece of costume jewelry that you're going to take reference of and put in your jewelry, as long as it's not like the Hope Diamond or something. I mean, if you're going to buy something that's like crazy red flags, like I'm going to buy this Ferrari and put it in a picture. I mean, the IRS may frown on that, but they're going to be like, well, I don't know about the Ferrari here, but but if you're going to buy like like a pair of earrings that you're going to put in in a photo shoot, or you need this tablecloth that you're going to wrap around a model so that you can draw them, something like that, then you just break it down as costume. There's a lot of stuff you can write off. I mean, as long as you're going to use it as a costume, and then you can throw it on your table afterwards, as long as you actually take the model in it and did a drawing of it, and you throw it on your table later. As long as it's in your in the drawing, and they used it first. So, but yeah, I have all kinds of stuff all over the studio that is a tax write off, as long as, like I said, as long as it's actually a prop. But art books definitely reference materials and stuff. I remember being told in art school that you could write off not one but two issues of Playboy because they expected you to cut one up. On the erotic side of things, how do I find that audience? I assume they're not looking through the same catalogs as Celestial Seasonings. Oh, they could be sipping their Celestial Seasonings tea, looking through the erotic side audience things, sipping their tea at Celestials and looking through. There are erotic art shows. You'd be amazed the crossover, honestly. The erotic art things. Well, my gallery, I actually, I'm kind of surprised how people like come in and they get they see the social teas I get, and then they go over and they get the erotic art stuff too, and then they get the Shadowrun art. I'm kind of surprised sometimes what my audience is into. I'm like, okay, you're like, oh, you're gonna get a picture of the cats, and then you get some social teas, and then you get the erotic art. Yep, you guys are cool. All right, my fans are awesome, by the way. You guys are so cool. You have all my tastes. But there's some erotic art festivals, like the Seattle Erotic Art Festival is really cool. I haven't applied. I missed the deadline before the Dirty Show in Detroit. I have to get into that one for next year. But I mostly online, like the Patreon, and I put stuff up here. And then we do shows. I do Gen Con and Dragon Con, and like I said, I go to the shows and I just put it out there, and then my fans, they just find me. They just find me. I just put it out there and I say, hey, look what I made, and people just find me. That's just the best way I find to market myself. So, are you rewording your question? What are you rewording your question to? V Powers, you said you were rewording your question. Um, so like I said, I don't, I'm not an aggressive marketer. I put my stuff out there and I let people just find me, and I go to shows. I think the best way people find me is for me just to go out in person and meet people. Literally, that's the best. I find that when you go in person and you meet people, that is literally the best way but when you do go out and meet people, get a mailing list, get them on Instagram, that get a mailing list, because you want them to keep in touch with you. You need to keep them on Instagram so that you can keep reminding them. So because otherwise, if they that's the number one thing to do is to keep in touch with them, because people go home and they see your art and they go, oh God, I love your art. I want to remember that. I'm never going to forget. I'm never going to forget how much I love your art. And then they go home and they totally forget, because they mean to remember, but they totally forget. And then if they're able to go on Instagram and be like, oh yeah, that's right, I love your art. And they want to keep in touch with you because they do love your art. So, but again, Instagram can be just, to the artist, it can be so demeaning. You just have to try not to get down when you go online and you look at all the other art and you look at all the numbers of Instagram, and you look and try not to get overwhelmed. Try to just do your art and keep posting it. And if people are jerks about it, just ignore them. Some people are just jerks because they're jerks. Just keep doing your art, and just keep putting it out there, and you just have to find your right niche. I mean, I'm running out of time today, but next time maybe I can tell you, I have stories of when I've gone to market my art and I haven't sold a damn thing because I was in the wrong place. I mean, you can have fantastic art and just be in the wrong place. So, so it doesn't necessarily have to do with you or your art. It has to just do with, you have to just find your niche and your people. And there's a lot of people out there. You just have to find your people and your niche, and you can do that. And hopefully I can help you with that. So I'll have to answer that next time. I'm running out of time. I'll try to answer it. Putting yourself out there. Make sure you have your website and Instagram and shows online. I'll have to answer more of that. I will. I'm going to write that down to answer that next time. Hold on. I'm going to write down putting myself out there. Or text me afterwards, Brian, on Instagram. You guys can contact me on Instagram at Echo Chernik, and I will try to answer some more of your questions, okay? Because I'm running out of time for now. But yeah, go to Echo Chernik or echochernik.com, and I will keep trying to answer more of your questions because I want to be an available resource to try to help you guys. And I'm going to try to, like I said, keep being available as a resource. That's what this channel is all about, is to be an available resource to help you guys, come up with things. And I'm going to, maybe set up a FAQ online, some resources to try to help you guys. So, okay. So, but my producer is going to tell me I'm out of time any second. So, but yeah. So, hi Dylan, how you doing? So, but yeah, make sure you have business cards. Just always remember to think of yourself as a business. So, I'm getting a countdown. So, yep. So make sure to add yourself on my Instagram, and I'll see you guys next week.